Welcome, weary travelers. Please make yourselves at home. I, Homer, shall tell you a tale as you rest your tired bones for a while. Long ago, in a land where rugged cliffs meet glassy seas, there lived a unique people. These ancient people called themselves the Hellenes, but you probably know them better by their Roman name, the Great Sheet, or in your tongues, the Greeks. The Greeks valued wisdom and beauty. They excelled in art, literature, architecture, and athletics, and they built their kingdoms to reflect these values. Now, please allow my fellow poet Hesiod to continue the tale.
The Greeks were surrounded by many neighbors who worshipped hideous gods of wood and stone, fearful gods who enjoyed human sacrifice. The Greeks prided themselves in being unlike their foolish neighbors. Instead of roughly carved, cruel, barbaric gods, they fashioned their gods in image of man, as well as virtue and vices. The great playwright Sophocles will tell you more.
The gods resembled mankind well in both looks and manners, yet keeping in mind their love for beauty, the Greeks imagined beings who were more mightier, more radiant, and wiser than mere mortals. The Greeks insisted that despite their vices, these gods were perfect and without fault, and they were perfect reflections of our own nature. The tales of these gods celebrated our strengths and revealed our weaknesses. Euripides, my fellow playwright, will carry on.
The Greeks imagined a glorious kingdom for their gods, high upon the tallest peak in their land, high atop Mount Olympus. The gods lived in a golden temple built by their immortal uncles, the Cyclops. Within this splendid temple were 12 golden thrones, one for each of the most important gods. Unfortunately, mere mortals could never endure gazing upon the gods in all their radiance. And this grand pantheon could never be seen by mortal eyes, since the summit of Mount Olympus was always hidden by fluffy white clouds. And so, we will need someone greater than men to continue the story. I will call upon the muses to help.
We have spoken to the gods and have good news to share. Dear mortals, just for today, the gods have seen fit to tone down their radiance and roll back the clouds so that you may behold them in their Olympian banquet hall. They have allowed for my siblings and I to guide you back to the time of the ancient Greeks, back to their rugged cliffs and glassy seas, back to their tales of beauty and wisdom. Please indulge us in some brief introduction. Calliope, Muse of Ethics. Fortes fortuna juvat. Since fortune aids the brave, I move writers to create exciting stories of heroism and bravery to inspire courage.
Cleo, Muse of History. Tempest viewed it. Time flies, so I help mankind to keep a record of important events so that they would remember great accomplishments and learn from past mistakes. Urania, Muse of Astronomy. Life in ancient Greece could be hard, but odd, aspire to the stars through difficulty. I inspire people to look to the stars and be encouraged. Utopia, Muse of Music. Musica laetificat, music gladdens the heart. Therefore, I inspired the Greeks to compose beautiful music. Terpsichore, Muse of Dance. I brought joy to mankind through dance. Nunc pede libera pusanda tellus. Now it's time to dance. Erota, Muse of Lyrics. Omnia vincit amor, love conquers all. Therefore, I inspire Greeks to write love songs and poetry. Roses are red, violets are blue. There's an audience as sweet as you.
Polyhymnia, Muse of Hymns. I enable all mankind to write songs of praise to the gods, for qui venida cantant bis ora, he who sings well praises twice.
Melpomene, muse of tragedy, sic lacrimae rerum. There are tears for things. I'm the master of the tragic and depressing. Some of the saddest tales ever told have been my creation. After all, who doesn't enjoy a good cry?
Resume tenatis amici. Can you help laughing, friends? Thalia, muse of comedy. Like many of you, I prefer stories with happy endings, so I lighten my sister's drama by inspiring joyful tales. Let us begin with a history lesson before we enter Mount Olympus. It all started with my grandmother Gaia. You see, for a long time, she was all that existed. And since nothing and no one lived on her, she was lonely and downcast. But one day, she happened to lift up her eyes and see my grandfather, Uranus, the sky. He wore a crown which was speckled with bright shining stars and caught Gaia's eye quite easily. It was not long before Gaia and Uranus were married, both overjoyed to finally have some company.
Uranus quickly became known as my Lord of the Universe. He was respected and feared by all. Soon after their marriage, Gaia became Mother Earth, bountiful and full of life. All of things arose from her. My own mother, Manasseh, goddess of memory, was one of them. These gods were strong and mighty like their father, and beautiful like their mother. Uranus was very proud of them. Their second set of children was less beautiful to behold, but equally strong and talented. They were the three Cyclopses, skilled metalsmiths, with one shining eye in the center of each of their foreheads. Uranus found them rather disgusting and did not take as much pride in them.
How hideous these children are! They are nothing like the Titan.
The third set of children was quite a sight. These three children each had 50 heads and 100 arms. Uranus was even more disgusted with them.
Dear wife, these are the worst ones yet. How can I let such ugly creatures spoil your beauty?
Cruelly, Uranus seized the Cyclops and the 50-headed children and threw them into Tartarus, the darkest of all pits.
Poor Gaia was not pleased with this at all. She loved all her children and wished for them to be free. So after some thought, she fashioned a sickle and went to the Titans to ask for their help in defeating Uranus and rescuing her children. But only Cronus, the youngest Titan, was brave enough to volunteer.
Although I am strong, I am young. I will feed my brothers using the sickle that my mother gave me.
Young Cronus was now the new lord of the universe. Perhaps he will learn from the mistakes of his father and show more kindness to his offspring. Let us continue on and see.
Cronus did not free his siblings as he had promised his mother. As a result, Gaia was very angry with him. Instead, Cronus married the Titaness Rhea and took pride in his power over the world. During his reign, mankind enjoyed a peaceful golden age, living a prosperous life safe from theft and violence. It was a glorious age on earth. However, it soon became clear that Cronus had learned nothing from his father's mistakes. Wanting to prevent his children from overthrowing him like he had done to his father, Cronus swallowed each of them as soon as they were born.
I cannot tell you how much this grieves me. My sisters have their children close by, but mine are torn away from me. Is there no one who can help me?
This is just the opportunity I was waiting for. Why don't I choose to save my grandchildren from their cruel father and have revenge on my son for leaving his brothers for charges?
What a wonderful plan. Instead of my newborn son Zeus, I will give Cronus the rock.
Rhea hid Zeus on the island of Crete, where he was able to grow up safely. Cronus never knew he was there. Like his father before him, Zeus was the youngest of his siblings, soon grew to be the mightiest of the gods.
Now that I am grown and it's time for me to avenge my brothers and sisters, I will use this thunderbolt to defeat Cronus and rescue my siblings so they can share my power.
Zeus won a great victory over Cronus and became the next lord of the universe. He set the Cyclopes free, sent the Titans to Tartarus and a few other spots, and asked the 50-headed children to stand guard at the gates of Tartarus. Mother Earth was not pleased with this outcome. Once again, some of her children were trapped in Tartarus. She tried a few times to overthrow Zeus, but never quite succeeded. It seems the fates wanted him in charge. Zeus ruled very differently than his father and grandfather. He was glad to share his power with his siblings and several of his children. He even requested a golden throne to be built for each one of them. So now please make yourselves at home as we enter into the banquet hall of Mount Olympus. Here you will witness Hermes announcing the arrival of the gods, beginning with Zeus's siblings.
Her Majesty, Hera, the Queen of Olympus.
I am the beautiful Queen of Olympus, and I am very jealous. Zeus fears nothing except my fits of temper. I detest all Zeus' other wives, especially the mortal ones. Whenever I see that Zeus has another wife, I find a way to make her life miserable. One of my favorite torments is to send a swarm of gadflies after my enemies.
Hestia, goddess of the hearth.
Tend the sacred fire here on Mount Olympus, and every hearth on earth is an altar to me. Unlike my sister Hera, I prefer gentleness and kindness.
Demeter, goddess of the harvest, and her lovely daughter Persephone.
I cause all plants and crops to grow, provide food and beauty for the people of the earth. My daughter Persephone is my constant companion. I love her dearly and cannot bear to have her out of my sight. But one day, while I was visiting Earth, she was playing in a meadow. She wandered away from me. I did not know where my daughter had gone. I searched far and wide, but could not find my precious daughter. But with the help of the swineherd, I soon discovered that she stole my hate.
Hades, my gloomy uncle.
I am the Lord of the Dead, and I stole Persephone. I am a god of few words. Hades took me to the underworld. There I learned that mortals fear him so much they won't even say his name, lest they catch his attention. Instead, they call him the rich one because his realm contains all the precious things of the earth, like gold, silver, and gemstones. They also call him the hospitable one because he has room for all those who enter into his gates. After he stole me, I became his wife and queen of the underworld, even though I didn't want to stay. Mom.
Orpheus, who understands a thing or two about tragedy, will help me tell this part.
I understand Demeter's grief all too well, for I too lost someone due to me. I was once a joyful musician, but then my sweet new bride Eurydice died on our wedding day. Even though I had the chance to get her back from the underworld, I lacked the faith I need to succeed. I've not been able to success. I am sorry, Melpomene. I cannot bear to see another family torn apart.
Orpheus, you poor thing, I will tell this tale for you. Zeus tried to persuade Hades to let Persephone return to her mother. However, because she had eaten some pomegranate seeds, she was required to spend 3 months of each year in the underworld. Each year, while Persephone was in the underworld, Demeter would grieve and nothing would grow on earth. Kind Demeter taught mankind to harvest crops and store food so that people would not go hungry in the winter. Then, when Persephone returned to her mother, Demeter's joy would cause the whole earth to bloom, and mankind would rejoice at the return of spring.
Whew, I'm glad that worked out. I get nervous about that every year, and now here's Poseidon, Lord of the Sea.
Like the sea, I can be moody and unpredictable. People call me the earth shaker because when I hit my trident upon the ground, the earth shakes and cracks. And when I strike the sea, huge waves rise up, destroying everything in their path. But when I calm, the sea is still. You won't often find me at home being the creator of horses. I'd rather race the waves with my swift steeds.
All my siblings are seated. I'd like you to meet my Olympian children. Hermes, may we have first?
Hephaestus, the god of smith and fire.
I value peace and hard work, and I love my mother very much. You may have noticed my limp. I haven't always walked this way, you see. One day when my parents were arguing, I took Hera aside, and that made Zeus so angry that he grabbed me by the leg and he hurled me all the way down to the island of Lemnos. Ever since I have walked unsteadily. Despite my weak legs, I am a skilled metalsmith. In fact, I made these 12 thrones. What do you think of my handiwork?
Wow.
Thank you, Ken.
Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty.
I am not a child of Zeus. I have nor father nor mother. One day I mysteriously rose up out of the sea on a cushion of foam. The west wind spotted me and blew me to the island of Cythera. There, the 3 graces greeted me and dressed me in fine garments. And then they sent me in a golden chariot up to Mount Olympus. Zeus was worried since I'm so beautiful. The gods would fight to marry me. So he chose my husband, Hephaestus, for me. Honestly, I'd rather be married to the tall and handsome Ares.
Well, look who it is. Ares, my tall and handsome brother.
I am Ares, god of war, and I am great. Some people think I'm cruel because I love fighting for fighting's sake. I don't care which side I am on, as long as there's much bloodshed. I've killed many with this sword. Ouch, Mommy, I hurt my finger. Stop your wailing and be seated.
Athena, the goddess of wisdom.
That's my brother. But none of us very fond of him. He's cruel and bloodthirsty, but He's cruel and bloodthirsty, not to mention arrogant. I'm my father's favorite child. We have a very special bond. You see, I was fully grown straight out of my father's head. That's because he swallowed my mother, so he'd never be without her prudence and counsel. This shield has helped me in many battles, but unlike my brother Ares, I only fight for just causes. Perhaps you've heard of the city of Athens. I won that city in a contest against my uncle Poseidon. He gave them a useless salty spring. I gave them an olive tree with its many practical uses. Naturally, the people liked my gift better. So now I watch over the city and shower them in skills of arts and crafts.
The Radiant Twins, Apollo and Artemis.
I am Apollo, the god of light, music, and reason, and this is my twin sister Artemis. I'm the goddess of the hunt and all newborn creatures. Our father gave us these bows along with a set of arrows. My arrows are sharp and strong like the rays of the sun. My arrows are as gentle as moonlight and give no pain to whomever they hit. I love the freedom of hunting in the woods so much that I asked my father if I could remain unmarried. He kindly consented, so I remain a free young huntress forever. My brother and I have always been great friends, but things changed when I became friends with a talented hunter named Orion. Since we shared the same hobby, Orion and I spent most of our time together, and Apollo was just plain jealous. Although Apollo sent a scorpion that killed Orion, I soon forgave him. Together we fashioned Orion's image into the brightest constellation of the winter sky. That way my dear friend will never be forgotten. Being the god of music, I trained the muses how to sing beautiful melodies together, using my lyre to help them tune their voices. I traded my entire herd of sacred white cows for this lyre, but I will let my brother Hermes tell you that story.
Ooh, my turn. Hermes, god of a lot of things, at your service. I remember that day well. It all started when I decided to be an Olympian god. I was born in a cave, but being Zeus's son, I felt that I deserved to live on Mount Olympus. So one day, just after I was born, I stole 50 of Apollo's sacred white cows in a very clever way. Then I hid them and sacrificed 2 of them to the Olympian gods and used their entrails to make strings for the very first lyre. When Apollo came looking for me, I pretended to be innocent. Oddly, he didn't believe me. So he chased me up Mount Olympus, where Zeus encouraged me to make amends. I offered Apollo my lyre in exchange for all of his cows and my magic wand. A pretty good bargain, wouldn't you agree? Zeus is so proud of my cleverness that he made me one of the Olympian gods. My plan had worked.
So you see, Hermes' ability to talk himself out of trouble and his quick thinking make him the perfect god of merchants, travelers, thieves, and all those who live by their wits. His cleverness made him well qualified for a few other jobs as well. For the gods, he acted as their herald, always knowing just the right words to say. For mankind, he graciously taught them to use words of persuasion to talk themselves out of trouble. He was great at helping merchants to close good deals and at teaching politicians to speak convincingly. A faithful guide, he kindly led travelers to the best roads and led the dead to their final home in the underworld. Now all the thrones are full.
Wait, Dad has one more son, Dionysus, the jolly god of wine.
Are you kidding me? His mother was mortal. He can't join us. Besides, there are no more thrones.
I have my turn. I'd rather be closer to the heart. But
Enough, Hera. Come join us.
Thank you, Father and gracious Hestia. Hera is right. My mother was mortal and died before I was born, but my quick-thinking father sewed me under the skin of its own leg until it was time for my birth. I was raised by nymphs in the valley of Nysa, where I learned to make wine from the grapes that flourished there. I taught my skill to mankind and brought them much joy. That is when my father decided it was time for me to come to Mount Olympus.
Now that we are all here, let us have some entertainment for our guests.
I'm sure these people would enjoy listening to some of our greatest heroes. Hercules, my strong son, tell these fine people your tale.
I'd love to, Robert. You know how much I enjoy talking about my strength. I gained most of my fame when I was sentenced to perform 12 impossible labors. One of my favorite labors was when I fought the 9-headed Hydra. Every time I cut off one of the monster's heads, another one would grow back in its place. Thankfully, my charioteer was nearby to help me by burning the necks after I cut off the heads. It just goes to show that even the strongest hero can use a little help sometimes.
Dear Father, may we call upon Theseus, the greatest king of Athens? Splendid idea. Bring forth Theseus.
I agree with Hercules. Heroes can always use a little help from their friends. In order to save my people, I had to find my way through a great labyrinth and put an end to the horrible Minotaur, a horrible monster which was half man, half bull. Luckily, I had the help from a great architect, Daedalus. He gave me this magic ball of yarn, which guided me through the maze. I didn't have any weapons with me, so I killed the Minotaur with my bare hands. The people of Athens were thrilled to have a king who was willing to sacrifice his own life for his people.
And now, I'd love to share this bounteous feast with you. Ganymede, are the nectar and ambrosia ready?
Yes, wedding wait for a while. Shall I be down for nectar?
Yes.
To everything there is, and a time to every purpose under heaven. The war of the gods is not meant to last forever, and with all human invaders, the time of the Greeks came to an end. Even though the muses are now silent, the stories continue to be told, and as we rejoice at the fact that the heavens declare the glory of God, we see the constellations designed by the ancient Greeks, and we are reminded of the great tales. To celebrate our strengths, reveal our weaknesses, make plan our need for a God who is greater than anyone these myths can offer.